What is up, everyone? Welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about nitrates. When I first set up this tank, I started with refugium and a skimmer. I believe I had a filter socks in the beginning as well. I had this tank full of SPS corals and I had a hard time keeping them alive. One thing that helped was pH, and the other thing that helped me keeping them nice and happy, especially acros, raising those nitrates. I've heard from lots of people when I started in this hobby that you should keep your nitrates and phosphates close to zero. Not a lot of time passed afterwards. People started talking that zero is bad. I guess everyone tried keeping it at zero, it didn't work out. But let me tell you my experience. People tell you acros like zero. What I actually found out during my time in hobby, that Montes actually can survive all those zero nutrients better than Acroporas. Acroporas actually need more of those nitrates than any of your Montes. In the beginning, I tried keeping acros alive, but I couldn't. As soon as I started raising pH and nitrates, my acros started to be better. So there's reefers that still keep their phosphates and nitrates on zero, but those reefers are home every day. They'll feed multiple times a day or once a day, but a lot. So they'll drop lots of nutrients in, and they have very big filtration. They'll pull all that out. So every single time they test, it's on zero. They're doing weekly, bi-weekly water change. So every single time you ask those people, they'll tell you, yeah, keeping on zero works great. As I said, it works great for those people. They have heavy in, heavy out. If you're doing that, you should be good to go. I'm not home every day, and food is actually a more expensive way of keeping your nutrients where they should be, not as precise. What I like doing, I'm dosing nitrates currently in this tank, mixture of sodium nitrate and potassium nitrate that I mix myself and I dose. And that mixture will keep my potassium where it should be and my nitrates where they should be. Again, that should be, if you don't have heavy in, heavy out, keep them anywhere between 5 and 20. Your corals will be happy. You won't have any problems with that high of a nitrate. If you're not home, if you don't feed a lot, or some days you'll feed, some days you don't, your corals will be way happier, especially those acros. Usually keeping nitrates a little bit higher, you'll be able to color up acros a little bit more. I'm talking just about nutrients right now. There's other things that'll make your SPS corals happy, like stable the rest of the parameters, lots of flow, lots of lighting as well. What I've noticed when I kept my nitrates around zero is that after every swing, no matter if it's phosphate swing or alkalinity swing or temperature swing, I had lots of issues back then. Ever since I started keeping my nitrates above 5 or higher, I've seen that corals are taking those swings when they happen way better. Corals are way more robust than they used to when nitrates were low. One way to check if your corals are starving is, of course, to test those nitrates and make sure that everything is good. I do have one advice for all of you beginners out there, because when lights are on, you cannot really see which coral has thicker tissue on it. When you turn off the lights, try to compare corals that you just brought in with the corals that you had in your tank. You're gonna notice a big difference between those two, since you're gonna see way more darker of appearance when the lights are off, comparing to the corals that are starved. They have way more lighter of appearance. So just turn off your lights and look at your corals. You're gonna see the one are either more darker or brighter than others. Usually, when I say brighter, I mean more pale. Usually those corals are either starved with nutrients, with nitrates and other nutrients, or they got blasted with lighting. First thing what you want to do is buy a test kit and check those nitrates and phosphates, make sure that they're good. If they're good, you might have too high of a lighting on them, so you want to move them somewhere lower in your tank. So to recap, the best thing to do is to test. If you have a test kit, you can figure out where the nitrates and phosphates are. If you know you're feeding a lot, you know you're not starving those corals, but just double check them when the lights turn off. You're gonna see kind of how the thick is the tissue on those corals. If you see a lighter tissue, either they're getting blasted with lighting or they're not getting enough nutrients. Since I'm talking about nitrates and phosphate, I'm gonna tell you which value I like for both of them. Usually what I've seen online is that people keep their nitrates 100 times more than their phosphates value. So for instance, if you keep your phosphates anywhere between 0.03 and 0.1, your nitrate's gonna be either 3 or 10. I like to keep my phosphates around 0.04, 0.05. That's my sweet spot. I know some people are raising it even higher to 0.1, 0.15, even higher than that. They don't have any issues. Every single time I raise my phosphates a little bit higher than my current values, I see little problems. So that's why I like to have my refugium on, to deal with those phosphates and keep them nice and low. And I dose nitrates on top of that, which I keep right now around 12-ish or so. But anywhere above 5 to 20, you should be good to go. Your coral should be happy and not starving because of those low numbers. How often I test for nitrates and phosphates? I usually try to test them every week. If I skip a week, it's not a big deal. I don't have lots of acros, or I don't have a coral farm, nothing like that. If I do, I'll test those probably more often. But if you're a beginner, you want to test them more often just so you can figure out your sweet spot for feeding, dosing, and filtration. Test kits I like to use is Nayo's nitrate test kit, and for phosphate, Hana ultra low phosphate kit. Food I feed on this tank is PE pellets and Hikari seaweed extreme. Those two pellets are coming in every day, a few times a day. Plus I feed some flakes, like pea flakes, like any other flakes that you can get at Petco, those will be fine. And I do like to feed some of the dry coral food, like Benefits as well, and frozen with PE myces, which are one of my favorites to feed. What I tried as well is to dose aminos, but ever since I started dosing the mixture of potassium nitrate and sodium nitrate, I haven't seen a big difference with me dosing extra of aminos. And yeah, any other questions, just go ahead and ask down below. Subscribe, give it a like. Check me on Facebook and Instagram as Reef Under the Roof, and take care. Bye.